Welcome, everyone, to episode number 81 of the Guardians of the CLE podcast, representing Believe Land Media LLC and sponsored by SeatGeek. I'm your host, James Ellifritz, for the first time leading off the show. I'm recording live, as usual, in my Cave of Champions tonight, and my normal double play partner, Melanie Kirby, she's got the week off. And no, she didn't test positive for PEDs to try to make our podcast better. She's actually working some extra hours this week. So it's not like she's kicked back at the pool or anything like that, watching the Guards game currently against the Red Sox. So joining me tonight is a proud Alliance High School, Alliance Aviator graduate. He then took a direct flight from Alliance to Kent State University to become a Golden Flash. He's been covering both Ohio high school softball and baseball tournaments recently and championship games and USFL games at Tom Benson Stadium. You can follow him on Twitter at underdog017. And he's making his Guardians of the CLE podcast debut. My guest, co-host tonight, Mr. Derek Dimit.
Thank you, Jamie.
Welcome.
Thank you, sir.
So, how are you doing? Hey, tell our listeners a little bit about yourself, because you've been with the company, just for a short time now. But why don't you give us a little bio? Why you're such a sports fan?
Yes. So, like Jamie said, I graduated from Alliance, then went to Kent State and graduated. Been a Cleveland fan my whole life. Got that passed down from my family, but
That's a good family.
Yes, we love them in the good times and the bad. Unfortunately, there's been more bad than good. But yeah, been married. Let me do the math real quick. 6.5 years, almost 7. Yeah, I think so.
Congratulations on that.
My wife will listen to this, and if I'm wrong, she'll correct me. But yeah, we have a son. He's about a month from turning 5. He loves baseball, basketball, football, loves watching the games with me. So I'm kind of doing what my dad did with me, kind of take me under his wing and teach me the game and pass along that love. And I love it.
So before we get into our team, do you have any first memories or favorite memories of being an Indians fan prior to the Guardians name change?
So my dad used to work for Genie Garage Stores, and the company had season tickets. And the one game that we went to was when Mark McGwire hit that towering home run off the Budweiser sign.
Wow.
On the scoreboard.
Wow.
Unfortunately, that was before cell phones. So we were back on the concourse at a payphone. And kids, if you don't know what a payphone is, text your parents, they'll fill you in. But we're on the payphone because it was our first time in the company seats, and they were first row on the visitor's side. So first base side, about 10 feet from the on deck circle. And then we hear the crowd go kind of wild, even though it was Mark McGwire. He was with Oakland at the time.
Yeah.
Even though it was him that hit the scoreboard, just to see that, and if you've been to the stadium, the vast distance, or if you sat in the bleachers and you're watching the game and you can see that distance to hit a baseball that far. So yeah, I was at that game, but I did not see that moment. But that's something that I, definitely when I think of memories when I was younger going to the Indians games, even though that wasn't exactly an Indians memory, it's still something that, and I was not at Bob Lynn Barker's complete game. I did cover a game last week where his son was playing, actually. So I saw him in the crowd. Did get a chance to talk to him. He's there as a dad. I don't want to infringe on,
right,
that memory that he's building as a father, but it was nice to see him. He was there with his wife, and his son was playing first base. The team escapes me right now. It'll probably come to me later on tonight, but his son's team did lose, so they weren't able to advance, but it was a well fought game.
It's interesting you brought up Mark McGwire because that is somebody that was one of my favorite players growing up. So as a Cleveland fan, it's almost like you have to have a plan B, right? Because
Oh yeah,
how many times, how many seasons, especially as an Indians fan, um, I never seen him make the playoffs till 95.
right.
So I
Yeah.
mean, when they made the playoff, won the division, and then to actually go to the World Series was incredible. But I went to the old stadium when McGuire played.
Hmm.
My dad took me to there. I remember getting a baseball with the Oakland A logo. So yeah, I'm a Guardians fan through and through, Cleveland fan through and through. But I love baseball. And I
Right.
wore 25. I had the flip up glasses McGuire used to wear. But then
Yeah.
also for McGuire, I think it was summer '98, the home run chase
Right.
derby,
Right.
not derby, but the chase of
Him and Sosa. Yep.
Sosa. I sat literally if almost it's not even a seat anymore based on your background right now. Anybody
Oh
watching
yeah.
on YouTube, you can see he's got his progressive field background. So I sat at the very last row in the upper deck in right field against that metal mesh
Yep.
backing at the very last row
Yeah.
just to see McGuire play that summer with the Cardinals.
Yeah. We actually went over to Pittsburgh. It was my dad, me, a couple cousins, an uncle or two, and it I don't remember exactly how it happened, but they were opening the stadium Three Rivers at the time extra early to see early batting practice. So there's probably 10 to 15,000 fans there to see early batting practice because you want to see McGuire launch home runs during batting practice. And we get in, and up on the scoreboard says that the Cardinals got in late. They had a rain delay the night before, so they didn't get in until 3 or 4 in the morning. They weren't taking batting practice. So everyone just sits there for 2 hours plus just waiting for the game to start. But he did hit a home run to dead center field. I I think it was somewhere in the 50s. I don't remember the exact number, but it was probably an August ball game. So he was getting close, and it was pretty evident that, barring injury, he was going to eclipse the 61.
Yeah. I mean, it was a special time. I
Right.
enjoyed it. I had the Major League Baseball extra innings package on DirecTV. I would work every third day. I worked 16-hour shifts. So when I would get home at night, I was always catching West Coast games.
Right.
Oh gosh, it was so much fun. Um, but hey, let's try to get back into our Cleveland
Yeah, sorry about
Guardians.
that.
I know we don't want to lose
I
anybody.
sidetracked you.
Everybody, please stay tuned.
Yes.
But yeah, let's talk about where we're at right now as a team. AL Central current standings. Wins losses. We're at 27-33, 3.5 back of the Twins. The Tigers a half game back. White Sox 4.5. So they're still right on our tail. And unfortunately, we didn't make up any ground with the Twins over the weekend. But we did see some promise there, as far as some offense finally starting to wake up a little bit. That felt good. And then I know we want to start getting into our main player. Who's the top player that we got back in that series in Minnesota, Derek?
Yeah, Tristan McKenzie came back and looked like he hasn't missed a beat since being out on the 60-day DL to start the season. Came out through 5 great innings, probably could have gone more, but that pitch count hasn't built up yet. Cut him
Right.
off around 80. I think his official pitch count for the game was 79. Took him out before, going into the next inning, the potential of putting guys on for the reliever. It was nice, clean inning, clean outing. If you can't expect outings like that, moving forward because that's just unrealistic for anyone. But knowing that Tristan McKenzie can be your number one or number two, because we do still have Shane Bieber, but a top of the rotation guy that takes the pressure off of a Savali, off of a Bybee, off of an Allen, lets those guys face the lesser starters on some of these opponents' rotations, and it only makes them better in the long run as well.
Yeah, and McKenzie, I mean, there is nobody except maybe outside of Tristan McKenzie that thought he was going to pitch the way he did
Right.
on the road, first game of the season, and just lights out. I mean, that was unreal. One walk, 10 Ks in 5 innings. You can't ask
Yeah.
any more than that. It was just a fantastic. So that tells me they were going to make damn sure he was good before they brought him back up. There was not going to be any guessing whatsoever. And I don't know if you watched the pregame conversation that they had with him in the dugout when they asked him, "Are you 100%?" He's like, "I'm 100%." He goes, "I'm 110%." He said, "You want 120? You want 120?" I was like, "Well, damn, we got 120
Right.
because
Definitely.
that was impressive. That was
Yes.
impressive." So, hopefully more to come with Tristan. And I know you mentioned about, him being, a number 2 with Bieber, our number 1.
Right.
Here's the way I look at it is the Atlanta Braves for the 90s, you're looking at, and I can't remember what year Maddox joined the team, but, what they have, like 14 straight division championships, and they
Yeah.
had one
Something
World
crazy.
Series victory,
We don't
one
have to talk about
championship.
that though.
I know, but that's the thing. I mean, we talked about, having favorites, right?
Right.
Outside of our Cleveland teams, the Braves are my favorite. That was the worst feeling in the world, that the Braves finally won a World Series and I could not celebrate and felt sick because
Yeah.
my Indians finally made it there.
Yeah.
But my point, the point is that, do you think with the Braves, when you had Glavine, Smoltz, Tom Glavine, who's the number 1 out of that? I mean, you
Right.
can
I mean,
say Greg Maddux,
right.
but I would much rather have 3 ones. And then they had Steve Avery, and I'm trying to remember who else they had. Might have the lefty Steve Avery, and then they had Charlie Lebrand, I think, was another one that was down in Atlanta as part of their rotation. But for me, with us having Bieber and McKenzie right now, it's a great problem to have, and I completely understand the whole contract. That's coming up, and he's with the club through 2024. But the one thing I want to mention is that a report came out today from the Athletics, Ken Rosenthal, that the Guardians might not get a significant return if they trade Shane Bieber. So what they mentioned in here is, with Bieber being 28, and he is the ace of the squad, which I still think McKenzie's another ace. But he said there was an anonymous executive who questioned the type of return the Guardians would receive. For Bieber, he said, "I can't say with 100% certainty he's a playoff difference maker," one executive said. "He may help you get there, but I don't know if he's the answer in the playoffs." How do you feel about that?
I mean, I think part of that might be a recency bias. I mean, we didn't get as far as we had hoped last October, and part of that, we didn't win the game that Bieber started, whether it was him or Tito or management, didn't go out on short rest. And come playoff time, that's almost expected these days of an ace. You get into those must win games, and, you kind of put your body to the limit, for your team. And that isn't to say that Shane Bieber isn't a team player or it was his decision, but that could rub especially executives the wrong way. And um, not advancing to the ALCS, not getting to a World Series when he is the ace, that's going to rub people the wrong way. And like they mentioned, his age, we don't think 28 is old, but he's been a top of the rotation guy pretty much since he came up here. He hasn't been bitten by the injury bug as much to date, but as those innings continue to mount, stuff like that's going to be on people's minds. Kind of surprised that with another year of club control after this year, that, there wouldn't be more people taking the bait, so to speak. But, everyone. And the other thing is, the Indians, if they get rid of a pitcher, they know that that pitcher's on the downside. Kluber, Miller, the list goes on and on, really. And I think executives have kind of got smart to that. Like, oh, if they're getting rid of him, they know something that we don't know.
Well, a lot of it too, though, is the contractual obligations and
Right.
that we're not going to sign. I mean, the Jose Ramirez contract is this might be a once in a lifetime
Right.
conversation we have
Definitely.
about him taking a hometown discount
Right.
because guys just don't do that. But Jose is his own person. That's why he wears a medallion of himself around his
Right.
neck.
And those neon green
Right.
spikes.
So what I do, when I read that, I take a little bit of offense to that because
Right.
he says, I'll say it again. He may help you get there, but I don't know if he's the answer in the playoffs. I think that's a load of what, because Mel and I recently, I don't remember what the conversation was, but I went back to the 97 World Series where game 7, we're in the 9th inning. Jose Mesa, I don't want to really walk back down that path. But the point was that Chad OJ,
Right.
the game 6 starter, was going to be the World Series MVP.
Right.
Chad OJ. Do you think Chad OJ was the difference maker going into the playoffs? No, he wasn't. So you look at your top people, and if you want to go back, and this is something I was thinking about, because a lot of us that are listening now that are Guardians fans, we take a look at history of our city, not just our baseball team, but the city.
Right.
Our last championship, everybody remembers, is 2016, and it was the Cavs, and it was the greatest comeback in NBA Finals history. One common denominator that's going to be tying back into a previous championship is that we had the greatest player on the planet on our team, LeBron James.
Right.
Now you have to go back to when's the last time we won a championship. Prior to that, it's 1964, and who's on the team?
Jim Brown.
And Jim Brown is considered one of the greatest, if not the greatest, football player in the history of the NFL or professional football.
Right.
Before the NFL. So there's your common denominator that our team needs to have probably the best player possible on the team. So you go back to the 48 World Series, which I'm sure you remember. We were both there, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we took a time machine. Oh, gosh, I would have loved that. But anyways, if you look back, I was reading recent history, is that Bob Feller, who's got a statue outside our stadium, do you know how many wins he won in that series? How many games he had that he won?
Mm-mm.
0. He didn't win any.
Wow. Yeah,
I think he lost 1-0. I'm trying to remember 1-0, and I forget the score of the other one. But I was actually surprised by that.
Definitely.
So that tells you that the other guys in the rotation, and yes, back then we had Bob Lemon and Satchel Paige, more Hall of Famers. But hey, what did I just say? Bob Lemon and Satchel Paige, 2 more Hall of Famers. In other words, we're going into this season. We still have Bieber if he is an ace. And I know Mel's talked about spin rate or velocity being down or whatever it is. To me, he still gives you that best chance. And he's got some playoff experience too now.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So we need everything we get. This is such a young team. We're going to need every bit of that once we win this division because at the beginning of the year before it started, I predicted we'd win the World Series. So I got to stick to my guns. And if we're going to win the World Series, damn sure Shane Bieber's going to be on that roster. So, and I can understand if we look into the offseason and, he has one more year on his contract that we would look to move him in the offseason. I totally get that. Because he'd be up for arbitration, have a pay raise again, and it's a player that most likely we're not going to be able to afford to keep. Which that's a whole nother story. Don't get me started on why we could use some salary cap and some salary floors in Major League Baseball.
Yes.
So in the last week, since last record, our team, we went 3-3. We had the 4-game series at Minnesota that we split. Unfortunately, the first game blew the lead, going 7-6. I was hoping we'd get 3 out of 4. That was our opportunity to cash in, and we failed that. That seems like this team just continues to find ways to lose the games, the close games, the one-run games, all season long so far. And I know we just need some stability, right? What do you think, Derek? Because, we can get into the bullpen. We can start there, and look at the last week. We've had some pretty good performances. And, at the top of my list, and I was looking at stats for the last week, believe it or not, is James Karinchak.
Yeah, that's
Three
hard
and
to believe.
yeah, 3 2/3 innings pitched. He got a victory, 5 Ks, 2 holds, 0 ERA, and over 12 on his Ks per nine. So it seems like he's settling down. Maybe do you think it's matchups? Do you think it's him?
With Karinchak, I think it's him. That mental side of it. When he's good, and when he's bad. There's no in between with someone like James Karinchak, and ride the hot hand while it's hot, but when it's, well, yeah, there you go. You know, let your hair grow out a little. But yeah, and coming into the season, you penciled in, Hinches, Karinchak, Stefan, all three of those guys as your seventh and eighth inning guys. And Hinches started the season hurt, and Karinchak's had his difficulties, and Stefan here recently, has kind of fallen into that kind of same realm that a lot of us were holding Karinchak to of, oh crap, Tito's going with Stefan here, and then probably one of the more reliable arms this season is De Los Santos. And then last night he, you know, I the words escape me, but he came in and Boston just jumped all over him and went from, hey, we got this, we're going to open the series against a struggling Red Sox team with a win, and next
Right.
thing you know, it's starting off with a loss. But going back real quick to the Minnesota series, after going down 0-2, that Cleveland pessimist in me, I feared that we were going to get swept, or at the very least lose 3 out of the 4. Like you said, it would have been great to go in there and take 3 from them. And that's the other thing with this new scheduling. We don't have those opportunities like in years past, to beat up on teams like the Tigers and the Royals, but also those head to head matchups with the Twins to make up that ground. So those series are going to take on even more weight than they did in previous years. So to escape the Twin Cities there with the split, I think in the grand scheme of things, that the way it started, I think that counts as a win, that series. It's a split in the books, but to go down 0-2 and come back and win the next 2 over the weekend, you know, hopefully they can build on that. It didn't show last night, but hopefully that. And I know we're going to talk about the hitters here soon. Some of them, as the weather's getting warmer, hopefully some of them the bats can warm up a little bit, and
Mm-hmm.
the guys that we expected, in the middle of the order to be our RBI guys, do that. So we aren't looking at 2-1 or 3-2 victories or losses, and we get more runs, and the onus doesn't fall on the back end of the bullpen as much.
Yeah. And I think the other thing from the series is that I believe we have a 1 game advantage in the head to head as well. So that could later, be important. I believe we got some more matchups with them. I don't know how many. I'd have to look at the schedule,
I haven't
but
looked at a schedule.
yeah,
recently.
but that last game, that last win was a tiebreaker as far as head to head in their division series. So, but you were talking about De Los Santos. He pitched 3 innings in the last week. I know he took the L last night. He does have a couple holds, but in those 3 innings, I don't know. You just see him. He's a big guy up there. It looks like he's a big presence on the mound.
Yeah.
And, he got 2 holds. But what I looked at was surprising for me. I just didn't see it. I didn't pay attention as I was watching him play. Is in those 3 innings, he never recorded 1 strikeout.
Yeah, that's not good out of a late inning reliever, and probably is going to keep him in that 6th inning role, and not someone that Tito turns to in those high leverage 7th, 8th inning matchups.
But it's good that him and Karinchak are going to be battling it out, and
Right.
That competition seems like it's helped Karinchak a little bit, because he's been pitching well lately. So, We'll take everything we can get. I think Klase is still leading the league in saves.
Right.
So he's still, as he at his level he was last year. Honestly, I don't care. It's freaking June, right?
Right. Yeah.
Like, I don't want him to lose games and blow games.
Right.
But if he has a little bit of fall off throughout until we get, it's all about how are we playing going into into the end of August into September. That's when it really counts. You got to be in that spot. And right now, technically, we'd still be in a pennant race. What I hope doesn't happen is that we don't become sellers. And, I think that's the challenge right now of the front office as we get closer to the All-Star break, is the fact that whether or not, because we have a losing record technically right now, and most of the division does, do we look at it as we can still win this division, and that's where I was, win the division, punch your ticket to the postseason, and just see what happens and be hot? Or do they look at it as, man, no matter what move we make right now for what's on the table, because we all have stuff in our minds that we want to make this trade and that trade, and we want to get Jordan Walker from the Cardinals, and I know that's been part of the conversation, Mel's had with me. Sure. I mean, I get it, some of these top prospects, but then again, we're back to prospects. We still don't have the vets that we need, in my opinion, to really help us battle through whether it's losing streaks or, Naylor's got his 6-game hitting streak now, which is fantastic, but there's been a lot of players that probably could have used that voice that's not Terry Francona or the hitting coach repeating what last year's hitting coach said to help get him out of the slump. Sometimes it's about that voice of the player that plays next to you over the coaching staff. How do you feel about the leadership that we have on our team, even though most of it's young?
Yeah, I think, Jose kind of by default is the leader, at least in the offensive realm. And he's not one that's going to be a big rah-rah guy. He's going to just go out there and lead by example. And some of the younger guys may not take to that, may not recognize that, and, may have to kind of learn it and see, oh, Jose does this, maybe we should do that. And I think we are starting to see it. Jimenez is starting to go opposite way, more up the middle, not trying to pull as much, and his average is climbing. Like you said, Josh Naylor's on a hot streak right now. He's had, what was it, the one game, six RBIs, I think.
Yeah.
In one of the
Derek, here's his stat line for last week: 9 for 19, 6 runs, 9 hits, 4 doubles, 1 home run, 8 RBIs, stolen base, walk. Average was 474 last week. So he's
just sign me up for that for the rest of the summer.
And I think he's 6th in the American League in RBI, if I remember right.
Yeah, I did see that. And when you think about the offensive struggles that we've seen so far this year, to have someone that close to the league lead in RBIs is kind of crazy.
Yeah. Oh, I know. Because the run differential that we have on the season, I was listening to local sports radio, and I think they mentioned that we are negative 32 in run
differential
right now. Do you know what Tampa's run differential is? They said it's plus. Go ahead. Just take a guess.
Oh, I was going to guess plus 40 or.
No, they said plus. This was the Rizzo show. They said it was plus 132.
Whew.
Wow. I mean, they're smoking the ball.
Yeah.
It's absolutely smoking the ball. And you look at that lineup, outside of Wander Franco being a superstar, I love watching that dude play. Do they have a bunch of superstars on that team?
Yeah.
I don't, it's not a murderer's row, but man, they sure as hell are playing like it.
I did see our old friend Yandy Diaz has started to swing more for the fences and not try to pound the ball into the ground anymore. So, with arms like that, you would think that it would come natural, but it's taken them quite a few years. But it looks like good old Cashy down there has kind of got through to him.
Well, I don't blame. I mean, he was with us. Cash was our bullpen.
Oh yeah. Yep.
coach at the time when we had Yandy. So, and that's one of those. I'm not crying over spilled milk with him
Right.
playing
Right.
somewhere else. I'm glad he's playing well.
Oh yeah, me
It's
too.
just at that time, it just, it was a log jam. It's no different
Right.
than Mel's
The
been talking
middle
about
right now.
all this year with all the middle infielder issues with Freeman and Rocchio. Wait, breaking news. I think Brian Rocchio just got called up again.
Yeah.
It's only the fourth inning right now. Red Sox up 2-1, so maybe he's going to pinch hit tonight. But
Yeah.
they might they'll probably get him in uniform and then send him back down before
Right.
the eighth inning. It's only the fourth inning right now.
They'll give
Poor-
him the lineup card though
That
for
poor
his
guy.
trouble.
I mean, he's getting some some travel miles, but
Yeah.
other than that, it's like up, down, up, down, up, down. So,
Oh yeah.
but yeah, I mean, you were talking about leadership, and I remember Cal Quantrill was interviewed and talking about how he's one of the older pitchers on the team, and how some people look to him, but they also look to, he said, Hosey, and it mentioned Josh Bell as well. So Josh Bell, I have really not heard him in too many interviews, but
Right.
for me, it just seems like he's pretty quiet, right? Does it seem like he's the
Kind of gives
vocal
off
clubhouse
that.
guy?
No, just kind of they show him, and he just kind of always has that same expression on his face. And you would think someone that came up as a first baseman, a lot of those guys, guys get to first base and they're talking their ear off. They're like a coffee shop there at first base. Hey, where are the good spots to eat? Hey, where were you guys last week? And but him and Naylor has that fire, so I didn't mention him when we were talking about leaders, but he has that emotional leadership, that we've seen time and time again. But you know, I think it's been Andre Knott that said, you know, between the lines, Naylor and in the locker room on the plane, Naylor is two completely different animals,
Yeah.
for lack of a better term. The guy headbutting Tito, is also the same one, you know, holding his teammate's daughter in his arms, giving
Yeah.
hugs and letting them put little pigtails in his hair or something.
Right. And that's, I think this, Mel and I've talked about the chemistry and for the off-season interviews, if we've had even the draft picks that's coming in, we're talking about some class young kids
Right.
that are talented on the field, but that are great off the field too, that are good clubhouse guys. So chemistry wise, I think we have a great value system in place throughout our organization to make sure that we have good ball players representing each team in each city here in Northeast Ohio.
Right.
And down in Lynchburg. So, and we're fortunate, one of them that came through the system that's got hot again is, Will Brennan.
Right.
Finally starting to establish like he wants to own that right field spot. That's right.
Yeah.
Fly the bird.
R.I.P. Bird.
Yep. Ever since that bird, thank you, bird. Rest in peace.
Yeah.
The bird had to die so Will Brennan's bat could live.
Could
so
fly. Yep.
But yeah, Will's playing some good ball, 9 for 17, 1 run, 9 hits, 2 doubles, home run, 5 RBIs, stolen base and a walk, batting .529 over the last 7 games. So Will Brennan, thank you for providing some offense. Kwani's starting to step it up, 8 for 29, 6 runs, 8 hits, starting to bat. What's he at? 276 now. So he's starting to heat up. So, and then, Jimenez is start. Yeah, I know Miles Monday Night Straw. Yeah, he is definitely not putting the muscle into the home run category since spring training. So to me, he's our modern day Dwayne Kuiper. Kids, if you don't know who Dwayne Kuiper is, definitely Google him and his time in the major leagues, especially in Cleveland. Lacking power, he would be a perfect fit on our squad. So, so let's get into what we want to talk about into this next week. So we lost our opener against Boston yesterday, 5-4. It was a comeback win. Boston late in the game again. So right now we're down 2-1 here in the bottom of the 4th inning against Boston. So still a little more of the same. Hopefully it'll be our turn to get a comeback on this. and get back in the win column. Because to me last night, Derek, I don't know if you saw, but when I tweeted earlier in the week about this is our time to make a move, it's because what happened exactly what I thought it would happen was the Tigers and the Twins going down last night. Perfect opportunity to gain a game, and we gave it up. So just unopportune time to lose that game against Boston. So how do you think we'll finish this series back out?
I mean, I would love to see them take these two. I think that's how you're going to get to where we want to be, is continuing to win series. Or if it's 4-game split, nothing worse than a split on a 4-game series. And, those, a 66 win percentage is going to get you, where this team wants to be, where they should be, honestly. A lot of the same guys coming back from last year, added Josh Bell, did lose a few players here and there, but a lot of the key core pieces that got us to the ALDS, one win away from the ALCS, are back here in Cleveland with a lot of the same coaches. It's just about putting those victories together, and that's those 2 out of 3 or a sweep here and there, but limiting, the lost series, because those start adding up just as easily. And then you're sitting there at the end of July with, we have to win, 15 of our next 20, or the ship is sank.
Yeah, I mean, it's with this up trying to finish strong against Boston here to get the last 2, and then we got the Astros in town this weekend. Defending World Series champs, so that'll be a challenge. And then starting on, we'll have an off day on Monday, June 12th, but then Tuesday through Thursday next week we'll be in San Diego. I wish I was in San Diego.
Yeah,
that's for damn sure. I'd love to be on vacation there, taking a game. Actually, speaking of the Astros, I was looking at my vacation schedule, and I'm going to be in the Panhandle of Florida. And anytime I travel on vacation, I'm like, where's the closest major league park?
Oh yeah.
And the closest one I saw, or that I was looking at, was Houston. And then I checked out, how long the drive would be, and it was just under 9 hours from where I'll be in Destin. And I took a look at it, and I went, wonder who they're playing. Guardians, Monday through Wednesday, baby. So yeah, the Guards will be down there Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Wednesday's a day game. So man, I am really, really considering making that awful drive of 9 hours, because I love to go see our team play on the road. I've seen them play in Tampa, Pittsburgh, Yankee Stadium. And I got to get up to Detroit. Have you ever been up to Comerica Park?
I have not.
It's not that far. It's less than 4 hours to drive up there. So we play Detroit the last series of the season up there. So I was looking at that weekend series. I'm like, you know what? That might not be a bad time to go up. It would be rather interesting whether or not it's a division winning last final 3 games. Yeah. Because when Yo Pauly from OCW, when he came on our show as a guest, he had talked about during preseason, the Tigers being kind of his surprise team. So I don't know if he had them. I think it's more surprise than anybody that, yes, they're up there, but I think it's a bigger surprise that Minnesota and Cleveland's record and why the Tigers are actually up there.
Right,
so
definitely.
I don't want to give too much credit to the Tigers, because they're still a losing record team just like we are. So,
well, I think if that that last series is a division winning series, I think we need to talk Kevin into a Believe Land trip to Detroit, so you and I can experience Comerica Park for the first time.
Oh, for sure, because I've already asked Kevin about, hey, can we take the Believe Land Media private jet up there? I wanted to take the private jet for some playoff games last year, but unfortunately, Kevin, I think, said it was unavailable at this time. Because it wasn't in the budget yet. So, but I'm going to hold them to it as we grow. That when we get that Believe Land Media private jet, we got all access to that thing. So, But I'm hoping, as the season goes, and one thing I think we've noticed with Tito and all the different lineups he's throwing out there is that I hope that we get guys more comfortable in their roles in certain spots. It seems like we're moving around a lot, playing, trying to get people on the field, whether it's Arias at first base, which I want to touch on that. Freeman at third, or bringing Roki up, playing short. We got so many moving parts that I hope that starts to settle down a little bit later in this, the season. But that Gabriel Arias, when he was that play, anybody that did not see it over the weekend, he was covering first base, and I believe it was Jose threw a ball just wide of first base. But Arias, he had he had the wrong approach. The way he was stretched out, he was literally into the baseline, into the chalk line. And then when Royce Lewis overran the base, as he should, flipped over. And if you have not seen it, maybe watch it once and that's it. Because after I seen it the first time, I'm like, I've seen enough, because he went head over heels over Arias and bounced off his head almost Don Beebe style or Carrie Strug style. If anybody's ever seen that video is awful too, by the way. The Carrie Strug, when she was a gymnast, gold medalist, but then there's a video out there. She was running and laying on her neck. It's just, so thankfully Royce Lewis is okay. I don't think Arias had any intent whatsoever. He didn't know what the hell was going on. But to me, that play even happened because of guys playing different positions. I don't think first base is his comfort position, right? Yeah. It's just to get a right-handed bat and then play first base. But when I played a lot of first base, and when I would stretch out, I did not have. If I was on the right side of the base when playing defense, and the ball's coming at me, and I had to have my foot not on the side of the base, it was always on that corner. Right. You're either on, and when I say the side of the base, I mean the side facing the actual chalk line, not the part that faces the other bases. You're either in that section in the middle or you're on the corners. But Arias was way off that corner.
Right. He was on that back side of the.
Yeah, which made that play dangerous. Yeah. If he would have used his other leg, he would have had a greater chance, because I know it for a fact, of extending out farther to catch that ball and to be able to stay on the base and to stay out of the baseline to keep that player safe. So, but it's an accident. I think it was a total accident. But like I said, I want to see players looking good and playing comfortable in the positions that they're in sooner than later. What do you think? Because I know we're trying to get guys in and give them looks, but are we doing like we did Nolan Jones last year, where we kind of showcase him at the major league level and then see you later?
Yeah, definitely. Like you said, these guys are professionals, but they've been playing the positions that they play for most of their lives, and just taking a guy, on playing, church league softball or something like that, that's one thing. But these guys are at the top level of the game, and just to take them and say, hey, here, go play here, they can take ground balls or something and some situational stuff in pregame during batting practice. But in the game, he sees Jose throwing the ball across, and he's just thinking, okay, I got to catch the ball, I got to keep my foot on the base. And he's not even thinking, there's a guy running full speed, and Royce Lewis isn't, he isn't a small guy. He's a pretty big fella.
Yeah, he's pretty stocky. He's kind of old school third base, pretty stocky guy, and I think he's going to be a good player. The guy just can't. He literally just came off the injured list.
Right. Yeah. So to see him fall and his neck and head bend in the way it did, to see him walk off the field was a great sign.
Yeah. We don't want to see anybody get hurt like that.
No, definitely not.
But yeah, total accident, no intent. Just hope we get more comfortable. So what's your expectations going into this into the next week? So let's get 2 out of 3. Let's get out of the Red Sox.
Yeah.
I'm thinking the same thing. Any series I look at, I'm like 2 out of 3. Please, just 2 out of 3.
Yeah. And that's a winner's mindset, and like we said earlier, if you can do that more times than not, you're going to be in that 85 to 90 wins or more by the end of the year. So keep winning series. It doesn't get easier when you're talking about Houston coming to town and then going across country out to San Diego, where, the weather's nice. Players, may want to wake up in the morning and sneak down to the beach to catch some rays, but keeping that business trip mindset. And, San Diego, they're a top team in the NL West. No secret what Houston's done in the past 5 to 10 years. Some of it cheating, but now they're under the microscope, so they're not cheating. So keep taking 2 out of 3, especially when these teams come into Cleveland. Get that home field advantage. You're a young team. You need to feel comfortable at home. You got a big outfield. Young guys, aim for the gaps. Get those doubles, move the guys first to third. With some of our guys, they're fast enough they can go first to home on a ball hit to the outfield. Don't try to do more than what you're capable of. It's no secret this team is not a home run hitting team. We have Naylor, we have Bell. We would love to see Zanino start hitting some home runs when he's in there, but we don't need Andres Jimenez trying to get 25 to 30 home runs. Smack your doubles. Let's get them on, get them over, get them in. That's Guardians baseball.
Yep. And as we were speaking, the Guards just took the lead 3-2 on the Red Sox. Josh Bell hit a ball to third base, reached on an air. Hosey scored, so we got the lead back. So hopefully that's positivity we can carry into next week. Hope we'll finish that up tonight.
Guardians baseball.
That's right.
Reach on there, score on there. It doesn't matter how you get it. It's that you get it, and you get one more than your opponent each day.
Well, Derek, I appreciate you co-hosting this week. Being the ultimate sub coming in for Mel. Mel, we will see you next week and look forward to having you back after your week off. And I know it's not restful, but I hope you come back next week bringing a lot of W's. And my goal for the week is I would love to be optimistic again and be tied for the division lead by next record. So
yes.
I want to thank our sponsor, SeatGeek. SeatGeek handles the tickets to sports and concerts and more, so fans can be fans. So download SeatGeek your app store today. Follow Guardians of the CLE podcast at Guardians OT CLE on Twitter, and also on Instagram at Guardians of the CLE podcast. Hey, any of our listeners out there, please, let's get on Instagram. We need to build that following up there. And Mel and I are also talking about getting a Facebook account. We're also thinking about doing some live video. Give your feedback to Mel and I. Maybe we do like a Manning cast where we're watching the game, giving us live interaction. So if you guys have some feedback on that, it's something you would like to see, please let us know. And also Believe Land Media, please follow Believe Land Media on all social media platforms. Check out all our content at believelandmediallc.com for all your local pro, college, and high school sports, which Derek's been tearing up, and pro wrestling content, baby. So check that out too. We have many different podcasts. Follow us on YouTube. Remember, like, subscribe to the channel. And so let's wrap it up. Derek, where are you covering this week?
This week I will be at Canal Park in Akron, not for a Rubber Ducks game, however, for the OHSAA state baseball tournament. I will be there Friday morning to see the Kinston Bombers in the Division II semifinals. Hopefully the Bombers can pull it out, and I'll be there Saturday as well. We do have Cameron Palmer there. He'll be there for the Walsh Jesuit game Thursday morning.
Very good.
And again, if they win, he'll be there Saturday.
All right. Sounds great. We're going to wrap up this week's show. Once again, Derek, thank you very much for coming on with us. And listeners, we appreciate you very much. Keep spreading the word, spreading your love of the game of baseball, and spreading your love of the Cleveland Guardians. So thank you very much. See everybody next week. Take care and go Guardians.